What's up, Go Mean Green fans? We've got a big game this week, a bounce-back game going against former conference mates. Put conference rivals on Twitter earlier this week, and some of the fans kind of got riled up about it. So I'll say former conference mates, FIU, and there's no guy that I think covers the team better right now. The current beat writer, Kevin Barral. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on, JD.
Absolutely. Kevin not only covers FIU, also is the beat writer for the Marlins. So for all MLB fans out there, be sure and follow for all. He's got Miami sports covered at the moment.
Yeah.
So starting off, we played FIU the last 2 years. It was pretty lopsided North Texas's way. A lot of things have changed. You're going into year 2 of the Mike McIntyre era. How much is FIU improved, would you say, from the last time North Texas and FIU met?
Well, I think you have to start looking at the offense right away. Obviously, the big change there is the change at quarterback. After just 1 week against La Tech, FIU decided to go with freshman Keywan Jenkins, and he obviously broke the passing yard record for most passing yards in a freshman's first start. He looked great. I mean, besides the 3 sacks and 1 interception, he looked pretty good for the most part. I think that's where you have to look first. And then obviously they made a couple, they don't have Tyrese Chambers. They don't have Rivaldo Fairweather anymore on the offensive end. So you have to rely on these new targets such as, Chris Mitchell. You have Dean Patterson, who kind of were the main targets that Keywan really targeted in that first game. Josiah's back after an injury, and you'll be able to see him. He's one of the bigger tight ends in the conference, I believe. He was nominated for a preseason award as well. So, and then just look at the defensive end. This is a defense that has the experience under that 3-4 that defensive coordinator Jovan DeWitt is running with this team. This is a team that's now making big stops. I mean, we saw it against Louisiana Tech. We saw it against Maine, especially the Maine game, that 4th down right at the end of the 4th quarter. They were able to get a huge stop. I believe it was a sack from Jordan Garrod, and they were able to win that game. And then you just look back at the Louisiana Tech game. They let throughout the whole game thanks to the defense. I mean, despite Grayson James' 4 passing yards, they were able to really hold it on and have the lead until the very, very end of that Louisiana Tech game. There's a lot of differences in this FIU team. I mean, just looking at the defense, they lost Gathan Bernadette. They lost Demetrius Hill. They lost, I believe, Javon Strickland to graduation. He's done playing football. So a lot of changes, but they also brought in a lot of additions that fit that 3-4 scheme that they're running. And you just see it. I mean, they feel a lot more comfortable. They feel a lot better in it. We spoke to DeWitt during fall camp, I want to say, and he just said now it's just time to patch up what we messed up last season, identify who fits best where, and they definitely have thus far in the first 2 games. And it would behoove me to mention Donovan Manuel. He's been great. I think he leads all FBS right now and in total tackles made at 29, I want to say right now, or 24. So he's been great. CJ Christian, safety, has been really good. Potts has been great. So a lot of guys there that have really impressed thus far in just 2 weeks of play for FIU.
So I kind of want to start off with, what do you think spurred on the quarterback change after 1 game? I mean, I understand. I see the 4 passing yards, and on paper that looks horrible. But you go through all the spring, you go through all the fall. Grayson James is still the quarterback, and then after 1 game, making the switch to Jenkins, what do you think kind of spurred that on? Or was it a pretty tight race going through fall? I didn't follow it. I just see in 1 game.
Yeah, so for the most part, it was always Keywan and Grayson. It was very evident that Keywan was getting a lot of reps with the first team. He was playing with the second team as well a lot, and it was very evident that Hayden Carlson, unfortunately, wasn't going to be the backup this season. Obviously, when I believe they released the first depth chart, the public depth chart, Keywan was the backup to Grayson in the first game against Louisiana Tech. Coach Mack has never been very clear on why he makes the change. He just says, obviously, the usual spiel that he's the player that gives us the best chance to win. And obviously, they won against Maine, and they're going with him again this weekend against UNT, which is a team, as you mentioned, that's really had FIU's number for the past couple of years. So Grayson, I think I was very surprised that they did take out Grayson. I'll be honest with you. I think this game against Maine, an FCS team, not very good, 2-9 last season. I thought this was a great game for Grayson to kind of go out there, gain his confidence, and then go into a really tough game against the Mean Green. But It was just one of those things where I guess you have to make the change right away, and obviously it worked. Chris Mitchell, 201 receiving yards, thanks to Q1. He had the 2 touchdowns. Obviously, you want to see the run game go a little bit more. We didn't see too much of that last week, but I think if, again, another week under Q1, I feel like this team really, really likes Q1. When you talk to receivers, Dean Patterson, Chris Mitchell, they're very, very high on Q1. I mean, just looking back at Maine, he made a couple play calls himself where he changed the plays. It was like they had an original. It was the first touchdown. He called a hitch and go, noticed something in the defense. So it just shows how much of a mature quarterback this guy is just at 18 years old. And he's used to winning. He comes from Miami Central High here down in Miami, and all they've done is win. And he is used to it. He wants to win. He's used to the winning culture here, and he wants to win. I think that's another big reason why they're going with the true freshman quarterback just 1 week into the season.
Sorry about the background noise a little bit. We got some rain just kind of popped up out of nowhere, so it's kind of loud if you can hear that.
You're good.
So yeah, and going back kind of to the game 1, game 2, to me it's like I'm glad I'm not Coach Capone for North Texas defensive coordinator, because I feel like first 2 games y'all got 2 completely different teams. The first game y'all go off the charts rushing. Game 2, you air it out. You've watched it, like I said, you've covered the team closer than anybody. What do you think their identity will be? Do you think it'll be more of a balanced attack, or do you think it's going to be whatever, if the running game's working, we're going to go straight rushing? Or how do you see FIU moving forward throughout the season?
I wish I could give you a clear answer, man. I mean, you said it. The first week, they were full rushing attack. There was no way to stop that team. They took advantage of the Louisiana Tech defensive line, which for the most part is a pretty weak defensive line. Then you go into Maine, which is a team that lost a lot of guys on defense. I guess they tried to really attack a little bit of everywhere. They got some run game going. They got some pass game going. If you look, I think, at the box score with Maine, you'll see there was like 13 total rushing yards. That's because Key right at the end, he lost like 30 yards just to hold the ball, wasting time. But I really would love to give you a clear answer. It's just really how they look at the week. The Mean Green, if I'm correct, their defensive line for the most part is a little bit weaker than usual. So maybe we'll see them go against. Maybe we'll see them use that rushing attack a little bit more. Obviously, they have Shamari Lawrence, who after that week 0 game, I believe he led all FBS running backs in rushing yards. He's been pretty good for the most part. He's been the guy that they really like, and he's been a great guy for them for the most part. So, but if Key sees something, the opportunity to take some deep shots, he will. I think he definitely will. I think we'll see a pretty balanced FIU team this week when it comes to when you want to run it, when you want to pass it. So that's the good thing. But man, this is a really good Mean Green team. No matter what, great offense, great defense. They've had FIU's number. They're definitely going to go out there and play this a little, not scared really, but really just test the waters, see where they're going to go. And that's when you'll notice it. Obviously, I think the Louisiana Tech game is the obvious one. They realized that they could take advantage of the run game. And they really did. I mean, look at Grayson, only 4 passing yards in that first game. So it shows you, like, when this team finds a way to do something, they're going to stick and commit to it. And that's what they did. I mean, they thought the passing game was the way to go in that Maine game. They used the passing game.
And I don't know, you probably watched the Cal game or saw the stats from it. I mean, North Texas defense got slashed on the ground. So when I went to, not scout, but, kind of start studying up on FIU, I see the first game, 279 yards, netted 191, but I'm like, oh crap. And you go to the next game and you said like 13. It's like, okay, we may have a chance to stop them on the ground. But what is North Texas on FIU's defense? What do you think they'll have the ability to have the most success with? Is it will they be able to rush the ball, pass the ball? What would you say is weaknesses on that FIU defense?
If you look at the box score from the Maine game, you'll notice the Derek Daniel, the safety, he ended the night with 11 tackles. He's a safety. So, yes, it's nice for Derek Daniel to have 11 tackles because, he's a guy who hasn't played too much, didn't play too much last season. He's a senior. Nice to see him get it going. But that shows you how deep Maine was able to get into territory, into the pass territory, the run territory. This is an FIU team that really has struggled to make the initial tackle. They need multiple guys to take players down. And that's the one thing I've noticed. You noticed it with Maine. They had a good amount of rushing yards, I believe, if I'm remembering the box score correctly. And I mean, North Texas is going to be able to run the ball. I know you guys, for the most part, are more of a pass offense, if I'm correct. You guys have Macklin. You guys have Roger Burns. Those are the two guys I've pointed out to Coach Mack. He obviously mentioned those guys could fly. Those are very, very fast wide receivers. And you guys have Stone Earl, who's dual threat. He could run, he could pass, he could do whatever. I believe in the last game, he had 60 rushing yards against FIU. He led the team. For you guys, he led that game in rushing yards with 60. So this is a defense that's going to really struggle, I think, for FIU against Texas, honestly. This is a team that really struggles to make the initial tackle, and that's the big reason why these teams have been able to get initial yardage or more yards than they should against a team like FIU.
So I know you're a busy guy. You got a lot of stuff going on there in Miami. I won't keep you any longer, but what is your quick prediction score and outcome for Saturday?
It's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a really good game too. I really do think FIU obviously has improved immensely from one year to another. We've seen it. I think Kiwan's now going to face probably the best team he'll face all year up to this point. Obviously, if you go from an FCS to an FBS team that was former Conference USA opponent, kind of helps. That's the fact. Easier for these guys to kind of film study. I think I wouldn't say a shootout, to be honest with you, but I do think North Texas ends up winning it. I don't know by how much. I think ESPN had North Texas winning, FIU winning. I'm sorry, not by much. I think it'll be a close game though, nonetheless. I think it's just going to end up with that. What I told you, the initial tackle. If FIU can't get the initial tackle on these guys, it's going to be a long night for FIU. This is an offense in North Texas that, despite losing, obviously you guys lost to Cal, but they were able to get a good amount of 3 touchdowns. I believe it was Macklin who ended up with 122 yards to 2 touchdowns. He was great. He's going to be the main target that they're going to have to look at. And if FIU could take advantage of the UNT defensive line, I think it'll be a great night for that run game to kind of produce itself and get it going. So I do think it'll be a North Texas win. I don't know by how much. I don't think it'll be a very, like the 52-14 we saw last season. I think it'll be fairly closer than that, and I hope it is. It'll be a great game, but this is a huge game for FIU. I mean, you lost to Louisiana Tech. That was the one game that you had to win on your schedule. It was that one to kind of get the conference slate going later on, but you need to win this one. This is a huge one to kind of get your record over that 500 marker.
Most games come down to who scores the most points. With our tackling problems and y'all's tackling problems, it may be come down to who can successfully make the most tackles when it all comes down to it. But Kevin, thank you for jumping on. Good luck with heading to school after this. And like I said, we'll talk Saturday, and hopefully we're in for a good game and good rest of the season.
Yeah, I appreciate you for having me on. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
Yep.